Hi everyone, welcome to the end of week 2 for exploring your career potential. So this week we were focusing our attention on taking stock of the market. We explored a range of different things, but particularly at the beginning of the week, I asked you in the online module to participate in a poll. And the poll was asking whether you think you might look at an academic type job, an industry job, a different type of university job, or whether you had no idea at this point in time. It seems like the majority of you are just not sure yet, and that's completely fine, and what I would expect for many of you who are enrolled in this module. So hopefully what you found over this week is that the HDR careers employment market is actually broader than we typically think, and particularly for those of you who were thinking that your only avenue was to head down an academic career. Now, hopefully you've read in all of the information in the module, but also in a range of different news articles, that there is a bit more of a challenge getting positions within the academic community, within the higher education sector. So this is challenging PhD and MPhil students to start thinking more broadly and to stretch their mindset in terms of the opportunities that are available. So I guess that's why we took on one of those first activities around career progression and looking at the jungle gym of people's career progression. So many of you beautifully highlighted in the online discussion, and there wasn't really much extra I could add to that because you're all doing a fantastic job of providing feedback and input to each other. But the key things that stood out for me in terms of that activity is your learning around the fact that some people have quite lateral career progressions and some people have quite linear career progressions. And for those of you who identified mentors or experts who had more of a linear career progression, it seemed to be those who had more of an academic type career, higher education. So that's interesting to contemplate, that those who have worked in more of an academic career over the last, let's say, 10 to 20 years have typically had quite a linear career progression. However, I did note from some of your comments and what we've learned over the last few years doing this module is that a number of academics are starting to broaden their thinking about ways that they can contribute or gain additional experiences outside of the academic sector, which actually adds value back to the university environment. And that's typically through presentations, through industry partnerships, through networking and conferencing outside of their specific research area, but in a space that builds on the skills that they have developed. So I thought that was really interesting. I also thought a few people pointed out that success doesn't happen overnight, and it's really a really valid point, that often as a PhD or MPhil student you can feel like, gee, I don't really know that much, and look at these experts out there that know so much. But when you have a look at the timeline of their career progression, success takes time, okay? So it's really about patience and just building your portfolio, or as I often like to say, filling your backpack one item at a time that adds to, your broader resume over time, okay? So be patient with yourself. I think also you've all noticed that LinkedIn is quite a useful tool. Now, whether you're looking at an academic or an industry career, or looking at spreading across both over time, LinkedIn is a very useful resource for you to do your own searching in terms of looking at potential mentors or experts and looking at their career progression. But the same follows for you, that it's a great platform to be able to promote the skills and or keep a record of the skills and experiences that you have built over time. And with the millions, and might even now be billions of people on LinkedIn, it has actually become a recruitment tool for a number of organisations. So we'll explore that a little more next week, but it is a really good point that many of you have raised. Now, the second activity that I asked you to engage in was around job searching. And that wasn't for the purpose of applying for jobs, even though you may have found some things that you're interested in, but more for the purpose of contemplating what is out there and seeing the breadth of jobs and opportunities that are out there that may not be in your narrow field, but may add value to the field that you're interested in, particularly if there aren't many opportunities in your narrow field at this point in time. So I hope that job searching allowed you to see the broad skills and opportunities, and also get you thinking about what skills you need to develop over the next few years of candidature in order to be well positioned by the time you graduate. Now, a few of you made a few points around leadership, that a lot of the jobs are asking for skills in managing or leading teams. And it's a little tricky in the university sector to gain that type of experience within your research. Now, that's a really fair point. But what I would ask you to do is, again, start thinking really laterally about how you can develop that skill set, the skill of leadership. And maybe it's not to do with your research. Maybe it's to do with you coordinating or organising a small conference or being involved in a conference that's organised on campus, where you are involved in leading people through a process or through an event. So leadership doesn't have to be specifically about your research. Leadership is about the skill of leading others towards a goal. And where in your life, not just within your PhD or research, but where in your life, across university, across hobbies, across home life, can you develop leadership skills or be able to provide some examples of when you've demonstrated those leadership skills? Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that to think about. It's been a fantastic week. Wonderful to see people sharing their different insights to each other's posts. That has just been fantastic, and some really great highlights there. And next week we roll into networking and start exploring networking. But look, if you haven't had a chance to complete this week, you still have till tomorrow afternoon. That's Friday afternoon, and we'll still be viewing your online discussion and popping some feedback in there. So please pop that in there. And next week I won't be doing a video. Instead, I'm going to be running a live Zoom session, myself and Karen Kavu, who is the new QUT HDR Careers Educator. We'll be running a live Zoom Q&A session on anything to do with the content so far or other questions related to HDR careers. So we'll send some information out on that, and I hope you can join us. Thank you.